Module Overview. Layering, glazing, and transparency are essential transformative techniques in painting that allow artists to manipulate light, depth, texture, mood, and emotion across styles and media. These techniques are not merely technical executions, they reflect a painter's conceptual process, emotional pacing, and mastery over medium-specific properties. This module thoroughly explores how artists across centuries have employed layering and glazing to create illusions, symbolic atmospheres, luminosity, and compositional hierarchy, while also revealing how modern and contemporary artists disrupt, experiment, and reinterpret these methods in oil, acrylic, and watercolor. Section 1. Foundational concepts of layering and glazing. Layering is the process of applying successive applications of paint to build form, light, or narrative complexity. Glazing refers to applying a thin, transparent layer of color over a dry underlayer, usually to alter tone, unify values, or add luminosity. Transparency in painting isn't always optical, it can be metaphorical, symbolizing fragility, movement, impermanence, or spirit. These techniques differ across media. Technique, oil, acrylic, and watercolor will be used in our table. 1. Layering slow drying allows deep buildup. Fast drying allows layering with mediums. Transparent layering from light to dark. 2. Glazing rich, luminous effects with linseed or stand oil, requires retarder or glazing medium, occurs naturally through dilution. 3. Transparency, controlled with solvents, controlled with gloss mediums, controlled with water and pigment type. Section 2. Layering techniques in depth. Oil painting. Fat over lean principle must be observed. Each new layer must contain more oil to prevent cracking. Underpainting, grisaille imprimatura, used for initial tonal map. Thick impasto can be layered over or under transparent glazes, scumbling, dragging a dry opaque layer over a dried surface to create broken color. Acrylic painting, rapid drying allows fast sequential layering. Artists use gloss medium to preserve color clarity and increase transparency. Textural layers can be built using gels and pastes. Layering in reverse is common in plexiglass or resin works. Watercolor painting requires extreme control. Layers must dry fully before adding more to avoid backgrounds. Works light to dark, leaving white space instead of painting white. Glazing achieved through successive washes of color. Negative painting, painting around a subject to let the background form shapes. Section 3. Visual and emotional effects. Transparency as symbolism, used to suggest ghostliness, ephemerality, or divine light, e.g., Renaissance halos. In contemporary art, it implies memory, dream states, surveillance, or fragility. Glazing for mood, in romantic painting, builds emotional intensity with dark glazes. In surrealism and abstraction, softens transitions, merges spatial realms. Layering for narrative. Multi-layered painting can conceal or reveal stories, suggest time lapses, decay, growth. Abstract artists use layered textures to build psychological tension. Section 4. Modern and postmodern innovations. Transparency as conceptual tool, employed by artists like Gerhard Richter, who uses layered glazing with blur techniques to question memory and truth. Digital layer thinking influences painters. Photoshop layering logic now influences physical painting. Acrylic pouring mimics geological or cosmic layering. Watercolor artists use wet-in-wet and lift-out techniques to manipulate transparency actively. Section 5. Technical materials and mediums. Medium additives for glazing and additives for layering in a table. 1. Oil stand oil, linseed oil, turpentine liquid, galkyd, cold wax. 2. Acrylic glazing liquid, retarder, flow enhancer, gel medium, texture paste. 3. Watercolor water, oxgall, glycerin masking fluid, lifting mediums. Section 6. Case studies. Jan van Eyck, Renaissance. Perfected oil glazing for jewel-like finish. Mark Rothko, Abstract Expressionism. Ethereal color fields through diluted oil layering. Helen Frankenthaler, soaked acrylics into raw canvas for transparency and fluid layering. Ali Bani Sadr, layered storytelling in oil, reminiscent of historical Persian miniatures. Amy Sherald, underpainting and controlled transparency, create emotional realism. Section 7. Studio practices and exercises. Create a 5-layer watercolor portrait with intentional negative space. Reinterpret a famous oil painting using only transparent glazes and no opaque pigment. Paint 3 identical subjects using different media with layering, oil with scumbling and glaze, acrylic with gloss medium watercolor in wet on dry layering. Learning outcomes. By the end of Module 7, you will differentiate between layering, glazing, and transparency across oil, acrylic, and watercolor. Demonstrate mastery of at least 3 glazing techniques per medium. Analyze the conceptual implications of transparency in painting. Evaluate the use of layering in both classical and contemporary artworks. Apply controlled multi-layering methods in practical studio assignments.